All right. This is Dice at the Table. This is the first episode of what we're calling Tactical Onion. So named because this is going to be a series of instructionals for the RoleMaster Unified system, now on Foundry Virtual Tabletop. And really briefly, came up with the name Tactical Onion because my brother-in-law and I were playing around with this, and we were talking about how after every you learn how to play a certain element of Rolemaster, and you're like, oh, this is not D&D, this is not Pathfinder. You can't just charge in uh, pell mell and just kick the door in, launch a fireball, and win. I mean, that's always a tactic, but this game has some subtle nuances to it, some soupçon of tactics, etc. And I was like talking about how you learn one thing, and then the next time you read up and you learn another layer. It's like you're peeling away on layers of an onion, and it's a tactical onion. Hence, we came up with the term tactical onion for this series of videos. And the first thing we're going to do is we are going to make a character. So I'm going to pause my music, and we're going to go to the actors screen. Now, I am assuming anybody who's watching this video, you're at least vaguely familiar with how Foundry Virtual Tabletop works on its own. So I'm not going to explain a lot of that. So when I go create an actor and its character, I don't want to have to explain that whole thing. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm making generic characters. You can see over here, magician, paladin, rogue, warrior, monk. I'm just making generic characters and leveling them up so that I can experiment. I can have other people jump in and play, and instead of having them named Bob and Phil and Dan and Rick or whatever, they're just named the class so you know what they are. So I don't have a ranger type character. I also don't have a cleric. So I think we're going to make a cleric first. So we'll just name a cleric named cleric. And then we're going to put him under generic characters so he automatically populates over here. Here's the cleric. Bing, bang, boom. Here you go. Now I'm going to explain how to make a character going forward. So one of the things you'll notice over here says profession, culture, human, common. And it's pretty cut and dry. Bob Morris has set this thing up where you've got instructions in the middle. It's pretty basic. But before we do anything else, let's look at this. So the cleric's realm is channeling. You can change this if you want to, which I'm not going to. I'm not going to mess with the height. I'm not going to mess with the weight. I am going to make the power level average. Let me double check that real quick. Let me bring up a mage. Actually, he was above average, so I got to make him above average, so superior. And this is just so that this character is in line with the other characters that I've pre-made. I don't want to make somebody who's like gimped a little bit. All right, so I need to choose race, culture, and profession. They're all in the selected compendium, so I go down to here where it says compendiums. I go to RoleMaster. Now I put all the RoleMaster stuff in one folder and I kind of color coded it. So I'm going to core law, and then I'm not opening the book. I'm going to open up the table for core law. I'm going to drag this over here so it's easy to see and separate. So we have cultures non-human, professions, races, skills, talents, and flaws. We're going to be mostly focusing on culture, profession, and race. Now for my particular setting, Sword and Crescent, it is a dark fantasy historical piece set basically the very beginning of the First Crusade, and it's going to end, at least the first part of the campaign, it's going to end at the end of the First Crusade. So I'm keeping that in mind. I'm keeping my player character races as some version of human, sort of. In the game, elves and dwarves and whatnot, there's a couple of races that I'm allowing the players to make that in this particular setting, they are elves, but they think of themselves as human. They don't really think of themselves as like elves. And there's reasons for that, and it's mostly just so that people can play things other than just human. That being said, let's get into this. So we're going to go race. He's a cleric. All right, so we can click on each one of these and it'll bring up information. Now, obviously, you can also either use a hard copy or PDF copy of RoleMaster Unified Core Law and read this information there as well. I highly recommend purchasing Core Law and reading the whole book, or at least chunks of it, because as a game master, the thing that kind of frustrates me is when somebody goes to make their character, they haven't done any any background research. They haven't done anything. So like, oh, I'm gonna spend 4 hours deciding what race culture combo is the best stat wise or whatever. It's just like, no, come on, man, just you got to do a little bit of homework. But that's part of what these tutorial videos are going to be. I'm going to be showing the various elements of character creation, some of the tactical movement. I'll be doing more simulated combat, and just getting kind of just hashing out a bunch of the rules and showing you guys how they work. That being said, okay, so you have your text block here. Gray elves are almost always intermediate between their more extreme brethren, fair hair, blue eyes, etc., etc. All right, I'm going to actually pick a human. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to pick a common human just to keep things relatively simple. Now you see as I clicked and dragged this over here and just dropped it on the character sheet, it plugged it in as human slash parentheses common. Now, culture. Cosmopolitan, harsh, highland, mariner, nomad, reaver, rural, sylvan, underground, or urban. I'm going to make him urban. Let's read up a little bit on this. Urban dwellers are people who live in the towns and small cities of settled area. They tend to mostly be skilled specialists or craftsmen and usually live in symbiotic existence with the rural people of the region, exchanging finished goods for food and raw materials. Okay, that sounds like a good culture for a cleric, because he spent time in a church or whatever, church or monastery, learning his profession. Which brings us to professions. Okay, obviously he's a cleric, so we're gonna look and see. Cleric, right here. Clerics are pure spellcasters concentrated in spells that require the most direct power from their deities. Their base spells deal directly with life, communing with the deities, summoning live creatures, protection from servants of opposing deities, etc., etc. It's like the cleric bread and butter. So here we go. Bam. I have now selected those three things. Now, here's a checklist. The next thing on here is stats generated. Now I can skip that, and I can go to skills, and I can go to all this other stuff, but I really can't do a whole lot. I mean, I can play around with it, but I can't really do a whole lot till I generate stats. Now, you can enter stats, you can purchase stats, or you can roll stats. I have been rolling stats for the other characters, so I'm going to keep the same motif. Bunch of dice. Here we go. All right, so let's look at the stats. So you have your potential, which is the maximum potential for any particular stat once you train it, level up, etc. And then temporary is what the stat actually is. So this is what you kind of need to pay attention to. There's actually a lot you need to pay attention to in RoleMaster. RoleMaster is not designed for the player who kind of half-asses it. It's also not designed for the GM who half-asses it, but that's a separate issue. All right, let's look over here. So we have intuition, which if you go over here, says realm stat for spellcasting. So if you're going to be a spellcaster and you see RS on a stat, that stat should probably be a priority. Now you also have suggested stat for profession. So you got these two here. So this is memory's ability to retain what previously encountered and learn. Character's good memory, often mindful and attentive, and enjoy studying and learning. Kind of makes sense if you're a cleric and you've been sitting there, book learning a lot. Reasoning, be able to take available information, draw logical conclusions. So reasoning, memory, and intuition. Those are our three quote unquote primary stats. However, this doesn't mean that you should negate other stats like self-discipline is a amount of control of mind over body, the ability to stay focused or push harder or longer in pursuit of some goal, or draw upon the inner reserves of will inherent in any individual. Characters with strong self-discipline are temperate, confident, and even-tempered. They may be outgoing, but are equally likely to be guarded and private. Those with poor self-discipline are maybe self-indulgent, nervous, quick-tempered, or moody. Strength is an important one as well. Okay, so if your cleric is going to be wearing heavier armors, this might be important. Agility. Well, it's agility. Uh, combination of mental dexterity, grace, and fine motor control. So currently his temp is 56 and his potential is 58. So he's kind of maxed out. So this stat, wherever we end up putting it, and I'll talk about that in a second, is kind of already quote unquote done. Now, Constitution. This game, while it being a game of criticals and crit failures and fumbles, is also a game with hit points. If you come up here, you have hit points. Okay. This hits 0, you're dead. Constitution adds hit points. Constitution, therefore, is important. Now, empathy. The ability to perceive emotional states of others and the capacity to form emotional attachments to persons, places, or things. It's also a realm stat for essence. That's important if you're playing like a mage, fireball caster, etc., etc. I'm not sure exactly why empathy is important if you're fireballing in a room. Maybe you feel bad about it afterwards. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Anyway, let's look at some other stuff here. Presence is a sense of self and the ability to project one's personality to affect or control others, like leadership type stuff. Very useful. Quickness. This is a measure of speed, reflexes, and conscious reaction time. This affects your initiative. If you're slow as hell, you're going to go last. Now, there are some mechanics within RoleMaster Unified that can mitigate that, but they're not ideal. However, having a potential of 95, even though 39 is your current, that's pretty cool because we can raise the heck out of that. All right. Strength is pretty maxed. Self-discipline could use some work. But let's look at instructions. Stat generation. We can boost to and we can swap to. Let's talk about swapping first of all. Okay, so reasoning. I wouldn't mind swapping out something with a higher potential and a higher temporary. I'm definitely looking at this presence, and I want to swap that with one of my 3 stats, but I'm not sure which one just yet. I probably want to go with swapping intuition. That way I have more spells, or more, it's my spell stat. I'm looking at this. I definitely think I could swap quickness and reasoning. Let's go ahead and do that. So I clicked on the boost. This window pops up. I want to swap. So I'm going to swap reasoning with quickness. So you'll see these 2 stats swap real quickly. Boop. Done. See? And it tells you what you did. And if you want to undo it, you just click on this and it click to undo, and it reverses it, so you can change your mind. You can't change your mind once you're actually done making the character, though, so you're kind of SOL at that point. But, well, the stat here is 39 and low, the potential is 95, so I've got a lot more room to grow, whereas quickness, it's same thing, 39, but the window for growth is not as much. Okay, next up, I talked about swapping intuition and presence, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So we'll go standard swap with presence. Boom, boosted. Again, it marks it and it puts it in a separate column so you can see which ones are which. Okay, so I have improved 2 of these. Now I have my memory. I'm going to want to boost that one. And boosting basically increases the temporary. And we'll click this. Now I have replaced memory potential and temporary with 78 and 56 respectively. I could do that, or I could do 2 stat rolls. Let's look at this. Memory 23. Okay, there's no way I'm going to be able to get to 78, 56 for memory with stat gain rolls. Now the downside is if I use this first option, replace, I'm going to drop my memory potential by 10. Not as big a fan of that as it's a primary stat. So let's go ahead and do stat gain roll. So how this works is you do the first one, dice rolls, all right, 10. You'll see how it jumps up a little bit. And again, you can click to undo, and then you have to do it a second time because you're going for 2d10 added in. So if you notice, it's 33. Let's go. 33 plus 5. Bam, there you go, 38. What other ones do we want to look at? So we got 39, 38, 85. I've got one left, I think I'm going to boost memory again. Let's go ahead and do this again. Okay, so 2, it's not great, but we can do it again. Hopefully 5, 6 works. Okay, so it's to 46, which is not bad. There's still a stat bonus negative. Your total bonuses are still, they're not great, but once these numbers go up, they'll get better. Now you see, look at the stat bonus here is 6 because 85 and 100, 85 is what generates that, obviously. Yeah, it's just, this character has some room for development. Now, if you look over here, stats generated, stats boosted, swapped, and optional. Done. Okay, now we're going to go to next. All right, now we have skills. These are the cultural skills. Now, the first thing I want to point out for everybody is you're going to generate a lot of language points or points to pick languages. I would advise you do this first just because it's a lot. Now, you click on this, lore, spoken, written, signaled, lip reading, region. All right, so we're going to go with, I've already plugged in some languages because in my setting, it's medieval, dark age, First Crusade Europe. So I've already plugged in some of the local languages and stuff. So spoken, you can put 2 points into it. You see that automatically deducts 2 points. Now I also want my cleric to be able to read English. So yeah, he's going to be 2 and 2. Obviously, I'm gonna do this a couple more. Spoken Latin. He has to be able to see it, say it, write it, and do it. So here we go. Anyway, the reason why I'm saying I suggest you do this part first is doing all the lore language stuff. It's a little repetitive. And then if you do all this other stuff up here and then you go down to here to do this, it can just be it can be a bit much. I'll just say that. All right, so we're going to go written. We'll do German. And you should probably do spoken German as well. Now, obviously, if you want to be like as historically accurate as possible, some of these languages are actually called other things. You've got like High German, Low German, etc. I'm going to probably in a second pass go through and check all the languages for accuracy. But I just had to plug in some languages so I could do this. All right, so I can do one more. What do we got? You can speak Spanish. There we go. Now, might as well get down here and do the social influence and other stuff. Social influence, charm, duping, intimidation, influence. Okay, cool. We'll do charm. Because he's a cleric. He talks to people. He's a nice guy. He or she. I mean, it's a he by default, but you can make whatever. Now we have regional lore. That works. We'll bump that up. And then there's 7 lore skills. And I don't have a lore topic plugged in because I've been putting those into the actual system. But we'll do spell lore. We'll do historic lore. We'll do regional lore, always useful. And creature lore. And then we'll pump these up. Spell lore. All right, so those are all done. And you can see down here it says maximum of 2 ranks per skill. All right, so crafting and vocation. This is kind of fun because this helps you give some flavor to your character. So you've got crafting or vocation, skills, fabric, stonecraft, culinary, woodcraft, leather drawing, painting, metalcraft. All right, we're going to go with cooking just because I like the idea of the cleric being able to cook. Now we're going to go vocation, administrative, service, or trade. Let's go service just to see what's up here. Bone setter. That sounds like something a cleric would be a little good at. All right, so I have 3 of 7, so I've got 4 more, so I can do 2 more. Crafting. Make him a drawer and a painter. And vocation, administrative. What do we have here? Librarian. That sounds good. A lot of book learning for this guy. Now, composition and performance art. Composition, writing, composition, performance. Actually, we'll do stage magic. Why not? And we'll give him 2 points in writing. Combat training, unarmed. Okay, so we're going to teach him wrestling. Why not? Animal handling. Animal handling. Horse. All right, so 1 more check mark is done. Now I'm moving to professional skills. This is a little easier. This part is, anyway. So you have 10 profession skills to choose from, or to select. You have a lot more than 10 to actually, do. So let's talk about this. We want your spellcasting base, open, closed. Power development probably sounds like a good one. Channeling sounds like a good one. Meditation sounds like it should be a thing. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got what, 4 more? Let's see. What is magical expertise grace? Let's look up grace. GR. Magical expertise grace. Now this is the thing you can do. You can click on it. You can read to learn about it. Reduces penalties for casting spells of higher level than the character. Okay, so overcasting, however you want to put it. That sounds good. And then we're going to go with spell lore and learn about that. Allows a character to recognize spells that have been cast against him or written spells. This may also provide information on expected duration of. Okay, so this is a useful spell, the useful thing as well. We're going to go ahead and click Magic Ritual. I've got 8 of 10. I think medical medicine might be useful. And sure, we'll do lore, spell lore. All right, so 1 more has been done. Now we're moving on to knacks. A knack is a +5 bonus to 2 skills. No skill can have more than one knack applied to it. So with this in mind, I'm thinking spellcasting base might be useful. And I'm thinking power development because you're a caster. My thinking is more spell points means more spells. All right, next up, combat training. Okay, so this one, once you click this box, the character is essentially done. So we want to look at how this works. So ranged weapons, I'm going to put to the bottom. And I'm going to put shield there. So it's the order of operations for what is cheapest. So you see like melee weapons is 5-7 because it's training group 0. Training group 1 is shields 6-8. So that idea is, he's going to have a mace or some kind of weapon and then a shield. He might do a shield bash or something like that. But melee wise or combat wise, he's not expecting that he's going to use a lot of ranged attacks. I'm going to swap range and I'm going to swap unarmed because he really, really shouldn't be doing a whole lot of unarmed. I know I put a point into wrestling, big deal. I'm now that I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if I should put range weapons above shield because there are kind of some reasons for that. And that has to do with the mechanics of the action point system. RoleMaster, unlike, say, D&D or Pathfinder, where it says you can move 20 feet around and then you can do another action. Like, okay, Pathfinder has like 3 action, a 3 action economy, so you can like dash, you can walk, and do 60 feet. Technically, you're not walking at 60 feet, but you get my point. And that's all 3 of your points. In this game, you have a base movement rate, which is right here. My guy right now is 19 feet around. We're going to probably have to get that up a little bit to at least 20. So that's a round. Now, a RoleMaster round is 5 seconds, and it's broken up into 4 segments. So, like, action phase 1 is 25% of that 5 seconds. So if he can move, well, let's round him up and say he can move 20 feet, not 19. That means he can move 5 feet using 1 action point in that first action phase. And then the second action phase, and the third action phase, and the fourth action phase, he's moved 20 feet. And if he's able to actually initiate an attack or cast a spell, he can blow his entire action point economy on that, and he probably should because of the penalties for trying to do stuff half-assed and quick are kind of substantial. That being said, I moved range weapons up to target group, training group 1, not below that, because he's probably going to have like a heavy crossbow preloaded and ready, and the first thing he might do is like take a 5-foot step for cover and then fire from cover, and then effectively drop that, pull out his weapon and get his shield out. Well, the bad guys are moving towards the group. That's a tactical option. So he may or may not do that. He or she may or may not do that. Again, choose your gender. I don't care. But definitely at some point he's going to probably be swinging a mace or a hammer or something. Maybe he goes for a full-on like big ol' like war maul, so it's two-handed. Doesn't even need a shield. Great. Well, he's not going to be wrestling with a war maul either. Anyway, so I've got these set up. That's kind of my thinking for this particular character. And so I'm going to click this button, and now I can finish. Oh, look, he's still level 0. We'll get to that in a minute. So there's a lot of stuff you can fill in here. Gender, age, height, skin, hair, eyes, voice. This is kind of cool because one of the modules gives you a vocal option. And you put your biography here. A lot of this is crunchy bits for the actual player to do. Now you have these tabs over here I want to draw your attention to. Conditions. This is where the pain happens. If your character is staggered, prone, bleeding, stunned, etc. This is where you can see all the damage done to your character. The injuries and crits are down here and effects. So like, broken arm, whatever, it's all going to be here. And also if you're going to be like healing, you're going to be on this page healing things up and getting rid of conditions. Skills. So all that stuff we clicked on, this is the big skill list. Now I want to draw attention to a couple of things. Outside of here's how you get your spell casting stuff under spell casting. Here's how you get your this, that, and the other thing. I want to draw attention to a couple of very useful skills you might not think of. Under battle expertise, maneuvering in armor reduces the maneuver penalty for armor worn. Okay, so if you are wearing chainmail, plate mail, etc., there's a penalty because, gee, if you're weighing 40, 50 pounds of metal on you, it's going to slow you down. So this is a way you can reduce the maneuver penalty. So walking, running, you're not going to be doing a lot of running, I hope. But like swinging your weapon while you're in like full plate, you're gonna it's not form fitting. It's literally 40 pounds of steel. So this is a very useful skill to build up as you're leveling the character. The next one I bring up is body development. This is how you get hit points. Okay, bottom line, this is how you get hit points. It's under brawn. It's very important. Yeah, hit points matter. Now, our cleric here, had 20, then we hit finish, so now he's got 27. So that's 5 plus a total bonus plus 2. So yeah, he's got 25 to 27. You can actually like look at how this whole thing works, but you can also click on all of these and roll. So you notice if you haven't trained it, there's like significant penalties. Yeah, if you want to use the skill, it'll put at least a point into it. Otherwise, you get a negative 30 or negative 21. Okay, he doesn't know anything about riding a horse, so he tries to ride a horse. It's like a minus 25, plus or minus his bonus. So it looks like he's got a plus 4 bonus. Yeah, stat bonus. It's right there. So it's 21. So it's pretty pretty cut and dry. Lays it all out right there. All right, the other one I want to bring up under brawn is fortitude. That's a lot of text. That being said, fortitude allows you to temporarily block sensations of pain and discomfort, which can be used to temporarily reduce penalties from fatigue, pain, or injury. So you can use fortitude. You can use a fortitude roll to quote unquote shake off an effect temporarily. So if you are a melee class, if you are a hybrid melee class, cleric, you could argue, might be at some point like a hybrid melee class. Give him a good weapon, give him some armor. You might want to invest in fortitude. I think everybody should invest in fortitude, but how much you invest in fortitude is kind of up to the player. A mage might not need fortitude as much as the sword and board frontline fighter, because the frontline fighter is going to get rocked and might be, he or she's going to get rocked more often than the mage, theoretically, if he's doing his job anyway. If he's not doing his job, well, the mage is going to be dead. That being said, other things I want to talk about. Combat expertise footwork. Reduces penalties associated with movement while making melee attacks. Includes charging. If your fighter moves 10 feet, 5 and 5 in two action phases, he suffers a penalty because he's moving, right? Also suffers a penalty because when he swings to attack, he's used 2 AP, so there's another penalty because he's basically not spending the whole round dedicated to swinging that weapon of his. So footwork is really important because it reduces penalties. This game, like underneath the hood, it's all about reducing penalties. Well, it's not all about like crits and stuff, but like if you can reduce penalties through any means possible, aside from cheating, then that's kind of the name of the game. So you want to find out which stats, which skills do what thing to lower what penalty. And footwork is an important one. Later on, multiple attacks reduce the penalty associated with making simultaneous melee attacks in a single round. This might be really useful for the fighter who, once he's moved up and he's got like 2 people in front of him or 1 guy in front of him, and he goes, hey, I want to split my attacks for, like I want to attack this guy twice. So my 4 action phases, I'm going to use 2 to attack. So his first round in this situation, and I'll probably run a video of this. Round 3, he's toe to toe with a bad guy. Action phase 1, he's not doing anything. Action phase 2, I'm attacking with 2 action because it's 2 action phases. So he swings. Great. He's trying to attack twice in 1 round. He has a penalty. Multiple attacks reduces that. It's that simple. I'm trying to explain it and make it more complicated, but it reduces the penalty for multiple attacks. Might not be a level 1 thing. Definitely going to be a level 5 thing, certainly going to be a level 10 thing. It's one of those things you build up. You're investing in the development of the character. I would not advise, me personally, I would not advise putting a whole lot of points into multiple attacks and then making that your bread and butter early on, because you're just going to miss a lot. Like the early levels, it's penalties, you want to remove them, and it's bonuses, you want to add them. Now, that being said, reverse strike. This game, it pays attention to where your character is and the direction your character is facing. And I can attest that in Foundry RoleMaster Unified, it pays attention to that on the board. I'm going to real briefly, we're going to close this real quick. We're going to switch to a different window just super quickly. We're going to switch to here. All right, so this is a setup for a party. We'll select these guys. I've got to ghost them through here because we're gonna bring them right here. All right, here they come. Woo! Turn off ghost mode. Ghost mode it allows everything to go through walls, so it's just a lot easier. Now, one of the things I did with this map is I got rid of the grid entirely, because I want to be able to be measure stuff. I might bring back the grid just so it actually snaps properly. But we're going to take the warrior monk. We're going to put him over here. They automatically change direction to where they were moving. So we're going to take this guy We're going to go right here. We're going to take this guy, and we'll go right here. Oh, yeah, see, he hits a wall. There's a column there. All right, so he's going to spin around. So I got to click him, spin, 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 spin. I'm doing this wrong. I'm doing this stupidly. My bad. Okay, so now you've got these guys in close proximity. Now this gentleman here, I'm not going to initiate combat. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. I just want to show you guys real quickly. I target him, and then I want to bring up Argon, the Argon Combat HUD, which is a very useful module. I'll bring this up here for now. If I initiate melee, and I click on this, it gives me all the stuff, right? And I can hit OK. Now I want to point out positional. There is no positional. Flank, rear, flank, flanking, rear attack, two flank, or rear attack. All right. So we'll do this. I'm not going to apply the damage. I just want to show you guys. All right. So he swings, he misses. Now this guy here, he does the same thing. I bring it up. See this rear attack plus 35, right? Flanking matters. So we swing. Oh, that's a fumble. Let's roll a fumble just for fun. Overenthusiastic attack, you suffer a -5 penalty, initiative penalty next round. All right, now I want to take the monk and I want to have him target this guy, but he's not turning around, right? So I go like this. Oh, he's a puncher, so I should, here we go, right? To rear, you see that? That's a penalty because I'm attacking behind me. So it's bringing the elbow back to get the guy, or the mule kick backwards. But because I'm not facing him, I take a penalty. So unlike D&D and other games where it just assumes you're spinning around and whatnot, and it only matters, flanking only matters when a guy's directly opposite you. Now, unlike that. Okay, so if I move this guy here, I want to show you this. And then I target my boy here, and I go to attack. Flank attack. See, these are automatically plugged in. This is just awesome because these are the things that like RoleMaster is all about the math. Like I'm gonna say RoleMaster is all about this, RoleMaster is all about that. But like there's so many bits to it. Okay, so attacking two flanks. See, there's penalties. Yeah, so you have to pay attention to where your character's facing and what your character is doing. All right, now that being said, let's bring back up our cleric. All right. So where was I? Reverse strike. So reverse strike, you attacking that guy behind you, it gets rid of some of that penalty. What else we got? Unarmed, sweeps and throws, melee weapons, range. So for the melee weapon, he probably would go with hafted, maybe? Yeah, we'll go for polearm. He wants to keep people away from him, right? Now, he isn't putting points into it yet, so it's minus 25 plus 9 equals a negative 16. So, obviously, these are things to worry about. All right, so how do we go from here? What do we do from here? Well, the first thing we probably want to do is we're going to give him 10,000 experience points so that he can level up. Bam! Level up time. Now, going back to character, spend development points. He has 85. That is amazing. Now, typically a character starts with 60 and they go from there. But because this guy has some pretty high stats, he gets some significant development points. And this is very useful because there's a lot of stuff this cleric is going to need. Let's go to skills and I'll walk you through leveling up to level 1. Alrighty. So the first thing I want to bring up is a question I had. Corla. Skills. I'm not seeing. Is there combat training? Okay, melee weapons. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to look up what a warhammer uses because I'm spacing this. So we're gonna go ahead and roll up the equipment table. H-A-M-E-R, hammer. Warhammer. Okay, that doesn't really tell me anything. Hafted. It's a hafted. I thought so. I want to make sure before I put points into something that I don't want to make any assumptions. Okay, so we're going to go melee weapon, pole arm, melee weapon, hafted. And just for shits and giggles, we're going to go greater hafted because I want to eventually wield a really big one. Now, hafted, I have the intention of using a warhammer. So there's 2 points in there. And that's 12 of the 85 just got spent. Holy moly. All right. All right, so we're going to go from there. Let's go ahead and start talking about maneuvering in armor. And body development. We'll put a point in fortitude. And we're going to put 2 points in footwork because yeah, it's important. Now we spent 58 of the 85, and we haven't even gotten to our spells yet. So we're going to go down here and look at spells. Okay, so power development, very important. Now we have 12 power points right now. I just put a point in, it went to 23, put another point in, it's 29. So obviously this is an important one. Channeling. Transmit power points from one person to a willing target with an item made to store power. Probably not as useful just this second at level 1. So let's go down to our base lists. Now we select this. I think we're going to go with Life Mastery. I think I'm going to go with Protection. Both those seem important. Life Mastery and Protections. Now let's go to Spells real quick. Life Mastery. Life Awareness. Caster detects in presence of number of living entities. Preservation 1 can preserve a dead body. Okay, those don't sound like fantastic, but they are useful. Healing Life Essence 1 can reduce a stat penalty due to life drain by 1. Life Keeping, Infuse Life, etc. Let's go Protections. Prayer. Oh, +5 bonus to resistant rolls and maneuver rolls. Duration of the spell is 10 minutes per level if cast on a non-mobile target. If cast on a mobile target, the spell lasts as long as the caster concentrates. If cast on a non-mobile target that is moved, the spell is dispelled. Ooh. If the caster is a target, the duration is 1 minute per level, and concentration is not required. So prayer to yourself. Bless. As prayer, except bonus applies to defensive bonus and maneuver rolls. Very useful, right? What else do we have in the way of skills that we're going to want to have in here? Let's see if we can get some healing going on. What else we got? Actually, let's check out open. Concussions way. Oh, okay. We'll put a point in that, and let's see what that gets us. Concussions away. Any foreign matter causing irritation is removed from the skin and exposed to minor wounds of the target. Heal. Okay, that's really important. That's what I thought. So concussions away is the skill of the hour. So let's go down here, put another point in it. What do we have in the way of closed lists? So we have 73 of 85. So, ooh, boy. Okay, so you see this muscle law, nerve and organ law, bone law, blood law. These are all very important. In prior editions of RoleMaster, if you wanted to reattach a severed limb, it wasn't just, oh, we're going to cast a spell and one spell, boopity boppity boop, it's done. We're not going to just heal you of concussive damage. You had to actually grab that severed limb, stick it on the stump, and start casting, nerve law to get the nerves to reattach, bone law to get the bone to reattach, muscle law to get the, you basically get the idea. You have to basically cast these spells to reattach a limb. A severed limb is a big frickin' deal. That's all I'm saying. Now, level 1, Character gets their arm chopped off. It's probably time for them to retire. So we will pick a different one. I want to see what other base and or open. Okay, open. 73 of 85. Let's look at Light's Way. Spells, Light's Way. Project light, aura, light. Okay, so Shock Bolt, level 7. That's going to be a fun range spell for later on. So let's go ahead and put another point into that. I think after that, we're going to call it a day. Lightweight. Okay, we're going to put 2 points. All right, we're at 76 of 85. What else do we have here? Can we already put power manipulation, channeling? Yeah, we talked about that. Directed spell. Doesn't really, none of those really speak to me at this point. Medicine. This might be useful. Let's put a point or two into that. Okay, that brings us to 82 of 85. We're going to call it finished. I do have this set up to where it saves like up to 10 development points, and if you save them, they'll just go away. They get used at the next level. So here we go. Confirm unit complete development for level 1. Yes, boom, done. So we have 37 hit points, 29 power points, a base movement rate of 19. That still is a little low. At the next level, I believe there are some stat gain rolls to be made, and maybe that's where we can do something to get this 19 rounded up. He's also a little slower than he should be, or he could be. So these are things to develop as a character. All right, that is a really detailed, long-winded explanation of making a character and leveling them up to level 1. All right, thank you very much, everybody. This is Dice at the Table, and this was an episode of Tactical Onion. We'll see you guys next time.